Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming out to another session of the House Committee on Finance. We're sorry for the little delay, but we had Democracy in Action for about 3 or 4 hours earlier today, and but we fully intend to make sure that we get our business done here. The first thing I want to do, though, before I make any comments, is to make sure we have a quorum. Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Certainly. Chairman Abney,
Present.
Vice Chair Slater,
Present.
Vice Chair Mazikowski,
Present.
Representative Amore,
Present.
Representative Baginski,
Present.
Representative Barrows, Representative Diaz, Representative Edwards, Representative Hull, Representative Nadone, Representative O'Brien,
Here.
Representative Quattrucci,
Present.
Representative Ruggiero,
Here.
Representative Tobon. Okay, yeah, we can do that later. Representative Ella Wilkinson,
Here.
okay, and Leader Filippi. No, okay. We have a quorum.
Okay, thank you very much. Just a few opening remarks, and then we'll get into the business of the evening. We did have quite a longer House session than we had planned, but that happens. It's not the first time that's happened before. But again, that's democracy in action. Whether you like it or not, we have to do those things sometimes to get the people's business done. But here we're going to be concerned with about 17 bills that we have, and a total, almost a total of certainly close to 400 people who want to participate with us via the phone. Again, that's democracy in action, but I can tell you that we will not get to 400 people tonight. We will reconvene on at least one of these bills next Wednesday to continue. So everyone's going to be heard. Every question the person wants to ask will probably have a chance to do that. But that's a lot of people, and we want to make sure that we get everyone testimony who's there. You got to remember, you have two ways to get testimony toward a bill. One is by written testimony. When you have a lot, we accept that, and all of that is posted online, and the majority of it is read. The other way is obviously if you're here, you can testify in person. That's what most people are used to doing, but because we cannot have guests in the building as we normally do before COVID-19, most of it is done not electronically, but via the net and via the web. So many of you are not here, and it's kind of hard for you, it's hard for us, but what we will do is, as we did in the last meeting, because there's so many, what we need from the witnesses is, do you support the bill or do you don't? I know it's kind of a terrible way to say it, but if you support the bill, let us know why. If you do not support the bill, let us know why. That's what we need from the witnesses. What we don't do in the Finance Committee is that we don't argue with the witnesses because we're trying to get information that helps us to put, at the end of the day, a budget together. So we spend our time really looking for the facts that's going to help us do that. So I will do my best to try to make sure that my colleagues, here adhere to that. And it's not because I dislike anyone, but it's because I want to make sure that the sponsors' bills are heard in the correct way. So what I'm going to do is we're going to get all of the bills in play at one time. And then when we do that, each sponsor will have a chance to speak on their bills, but you don't have to wait around for your witnesses if you don't want to, because we're going to then, after all bills are in play, as we did last time, we will then have the witnesses come up in line, and we've got quite a few of them tonight. I do want to say this to the witnesses. You have a couple of minutes to speak, and after that, you'll get a nice little nudge saying your time is nearly up. I know it's difficult because you see me talking a long time, but I want to make sure that everybody understands how we get a lot done in a short period of time. It is highly likely that not this Wednesday, but the next Wednesday, we will be back again trying to complete the witness list that we have. And so once you're on, please give us a couple of minutes. If you start to go over that, we've got a timer that's going to help us, and that'll help everybody get this process going. So the first thing, though, I want to do is to hold all bills for further study. As I always say, holding a bill for further study does not kill the bill, because 99% of these bills will probably have some work done on them after we're done with this. So that's all holding a bill for further study done. So could I get a mess?
So moved, Mr.
Okay.
Chairman.
Okay, so it's been moved and second by Rep. O'Brien and second by Rep. Vella Wilkinson, moved and second, that we hold all bills for further study. Could I get a roll call vote on that, please, Mr.
Chairman
Clerk?
Abney,
Yes.
Vice Chair Slater,
Yes.
Vice Chair Mazurkowski,
Yes.
Representative Amore,
Yes.
Representative Baginski,
Yes.
Representative Barrows, Representative Diaz,
Yes.
Representative Edwards, Representative Hall, Representative Nadone. Yes, yes. Representative O'Brien,
Yes.
Representative Quattrucci,
Yes.
Representative Ruggiero,
Yes.
Representative Tabone, Representative Vella Wilkinson,
Yes.
and that's it. All set.
Okay. Thank you very much. Now, all bills are in play. So this phase of what we're going to do now is go to the sponsors of the bill, and we have some sponsors here with us tonight. And the sponsor will introduce their bills, say a little bit on that particular bill, and then if there's any questions to the panel of the sponsor, we'll do that. But if not, we'll go right to the next sponsor so we can get all of these bills into play. And as I said before, your witnesses for these bills will be called after all of that's done. That helps us make sure that everybody gets a chance to speak. So, the first two bills I think that we'll do, and if a sponsor is not here, once we get done with the sponsors who are here, I'll just simply read their bill into record for them. But I believe that Chairwoman Williams has two bills, and so if you want to introduce both of those, please, this is the time to do so. Thank you and welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. I will start with 5450, Distress Community Child Enrichment Program. This act would establish the Distress Community Child Enrichment Program, which would create a grant program to fund educational programs in distressed communities. 75% of the funds allocated would be designated to the Rhode Island STEAM programs, and 25% of the funds allocated would be designated to the It's been a long night, baby.
I understand that, trust me.
To academic and non-academic programs. Funding for the program would be provided from 3% of the fees paid for Compassion Center approvals or renewals. Hello, if you can smoke it, we need to teach. Or drink it or whatever they do. It is no secret that our children residing in our state's distressed communities have been getting the educational short end of the stick for far too long. I can go back five decades where the neglect on the educational system, and it still continues today, so probably about 6 decades, where our children of color and poor children have been neglected, getting the short end, but a paycheck keeps coming out to those individuals. Not all teachers are bad, but there's some that really, should be gone. While students in our other more fiscally well-off communities are exposed to cutting-edge science and instruction, those in our distressed communities have had to make do with leftovers and scrap or just plain nothing. How are these children going to be able to compete in our ever-evolving society, like the green jobs and the economy, without the educational foundation of the sciences and mathematics? It's time that we start supporting these children because they're all our children. And in order to best prepare them for their adult lives and hopefully careers in well-paying jobs and sectors, we must give them the STEAM educations that will help chart this path to success. And that's 5450. And I'll take any questions if there's any. If not, I'll move on.
Thank you. Are there any questions to sponsor on this bill, please?
Probably not.
Thank you.
It's late.
Yeah, I know. We have to get them into play, though. Please, Chairwoman, the next one.
Next one is 5699, Increasing Opportunities for Teachers of Color Act. This act would establish the Increasing Opportunities for Teachers of Color Act. It would provide for a multifaceted approach to increase the quality of education in public, urban, and urban ring schools by promoting the development, utilization, and opportunities for teachers of color. Not like the thing we just voted on that said we will identify and we will see if they exist, but rather we will definitely bring them and showcase them and put them in the schools where they belong. This act would further provide for a $2 million annual appropriation for a scholarship fund to develop teachers for employment in urban and urban ring schools, and preference for scholarships award would be given to students of color. And you hear it? It's preference. It didn't say only, so that it's not going to be, oh, it's all black and brown and all that. Because I know how some of these folks work. Their whispers are loud. Scholarship recipients would commit to work in an urban or urban ring school for 1 year. For each year a scholarship award is accepted. The data is overwhelmingly clear and demonstrate the beneficial aspects of having a diverse teacher workforce, especially in regards to closing achievements gap for students of color. A more diverse teacher workforce that represents our state's demographic has also been proven to benefit students of all racial backgrounds. Yet, our teachers, especially those in our urban core, continue to not be an accurate representation of our state's demographics and the students that they are teaching on a daily basis. It's a detriment to our children. The time for debate is over, and our students, especially those of color, deserve to be taught by individuals who have shared their life experiences and know what it is like to be in their shoes. One size does not fit all, and just because you are wealthy and live at the shoreline and your property might go up or down, don't mean that we don't deserve a good education. This will instill confidence and trust in our students, leading them to achieve greater educational outcomes and success later in their lives. Hopefully this building will present, rather than identify, that we need it and make this a reality. Thank you. Take any question if there's any.
Thank you very much, Chairwoman. Any questions of the chair on her bill there? Reverend Wilkinson, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Madam Chair, for this very important piece of legislation. I do have a question for you, though. If I'm reading this correctly, this is going to be used also as an incentive for recruitment of teachers of color to go into the schools?
Oh, yes.
And,
sorry.
That's okay. I was wondering if you had an opportunity to speak to any of the teachers that are currently teaching in the schools that might need scholarship money for them to continue their education into graduate school and academic leadership and so forth.
Yeah, we had an intense conversation and meeting with several teachers that were interested in the program. But of course, you know, people of color are not important to this building. You know, they see us when they need us. Our funding was one of the things that was lacking. And of course, if we get it, we can show that we are there, we can represent, we can be in the classroom and do what needs to be done. Unfortunately, like I said, we're not as important as our other counterparts are.
Well, I thank you for this bill, and if in the next session you would like to work together on doing something for advanced trainings for our teachers of color, I would be right next to you.
Sounds like you saying the next session, like this is not going to happen this session. See what I mean? That's
Oh,
that's
no,
what I'm
if
talking-
you-
I know, I'm only teasing you.
That's
I'm only
okay.
teasing. I'm
When
only-
you're ready, Madam Chair.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. You come in my house freaking people out. That's just what you do, right? I know it.
The truth will set you free, darling.
Thank you so much. Are there any other questions of the sponsor? Thanks much, and I appreciate that. Rep. Casimiro, since you're sitting right there, I think you did that on purpose.
I did. 'Cause you forgot about me
we'll
twice.
take you. Okay. I did. I'm sorry. Rep. Casimiro, please. You got
Hey.
5211?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, members of the committee. House Bill 5211 is the Rhode Island Quality Enhancement and After-School and Out-of-School Time Act. In 2017 and 2018, we held a study commission looking at out-of-school time learning in Rhode Island, and we looked at a number of programs, what was working and what wasn't. And there's the state of out-of-school time learning. Right now in Rhode Island, 2 out of 3 children cannot get funded for out-of-school time learning. 2 out of 3 cannot get funded for a slot in out-of-school time learning. Out-of-school time learning is important for kids, but now more than ever, because it's a pathway to get us out of this pandemic. An out-of-school time program would help stabilize and boost jobs in the human services sector. It would provide after-school childcare so parents can join the workforce, and it will also equalize learning gaps made wider by the pandemic. A recent study, and you have it in your written testimony, but it was just in today's paper, a written study by 2 fellows at Rhode Island College found that out-of-school time learning benefits youth, out-of-school time learning benefits families, and out-of-school time learning benefits our economy. And out-of-school time learning is a smart investment. For every dollar we spend, $3.50 gets turned back into the economy. So it's really about investing in our children and investing in our families with quality, summer learning, morning learning, afternoon learning. And I'd be happy to take any questions.
Are there any questions? Rep. Ruggiero, please.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Rep. This is a commendable bill. So I'm just curious, where are these programs, in what communities, and how does someone access the funding?
They're in multiple communities. It could be with the Boys and Girls Club, the YMCA, connecting with children and families. A lot of them are in the urban core.
Okay, good, because I was hoping that you would say
Yes.
that. Thank you. Thanks,
Thank you.
Chairman.
And we've seen some programs that are just doing incredible work for our young people.
Wonderful, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Any other questions of the sponsor, please? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Didn't forget you this time. Yeah, okay, great. I know it. Did I see Whip Kazarian? Did she just step out? Oh, do you have a question?
Mr. Chairman, can I be included as being present? And
Yes.
for all bills also, even the ones that were held for further study?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate that. Okay, I'm going to go with who I see that's here. Then I'll pick. Well, no, let's get Rep. McEntee and then Rep. Tansey up for there too. Yeah.
Thank you, Chairman. This is House Bill 5679. This was brought to me by a constituent of mine who happens to be the president of the Rhode Island American Federation of Teachers Retirees. This bill is relating to education, teachers' retirement, and the Rhode Island Board of Education Act. It's effective January 1, 2022. The current COLA suspension schedule would be replaced with a fractional annual COLA of 25% of the COLA declared for that plan year as it pertains to retired teachers, state and municipal employees. This act would take effect upon passage. I see that there is a letter from the Rhode Island American Federation of Teachers Retirees, which Roger Boudreau, who is my constituent, is the president of. He is asking in his letter that the proposed legislation is required to have a fiscal note, and we respectfully request that the Finance Committee take the necessary steps to secure that report. And I also see that Treasurer Magaziner has a similar, he's opposing the bill based on the same circumstances that he needs a fiscal note as well. I don't think this changes the the COLA amount. I think it just gives a smaller percentage over the 4 years instead of one COLA every 4 years, COLA increase every 4 years. So with that, don't ask me any questions because I've said everything I know. No, I'm kidding. If you want to ask me a question, go ahead. But I think I don't think there's any witnesses here tonight. Like I said, we need the fiscal note. And I thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, for indulging me.
You're quite welcome. I'm glad somebody still has a sense of humor. Good, thank you very much. Okay, so that'll end the hearing on this bill. I think we have Rep. Fogarty, who's there.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have House Bill 6031, and this is an act relating to education and residence of children for school purposes. And this requires the Department of Education and DCYF to develop a procedure to ensure that the municipalities where group homes and other residential facilities are located, and that the reimbursement for the educational expenses above the cost is allocated, whether it's through the Department of Education, DCYF, or through the municipality where the child comes from. South Kingstown has many group homes and residential homes. And so what we were finding is that there are a lot of children attending the school and we were not getting the proper reimbursement. This might happen in some of the other communities of some of the people who sit on finance. So this is only really just saying, to be fair, that if a child comes to a municipality, that the municipality should pay the cost above what we get per student cost. Because sometimes with these children, we have extra expenses, and that's left for the individual town to pick up. So that's kind of the bill in a nutshell, and I'll answer any questions if the committee has any.
Thank you very much. Does anyone on the panel have any questions for the sponsor of the bill, please? Okay, it's been duly noted, and the bill is in play. Thank you very much.
Thank
We
you very
appreciate
much.
that. Okay. Were you moving up, Rep. Tansy, or do you want to do yours back?
She's coming back.
Okay. Thank you. Proceed, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. House Bill 6030 provides that the state would reimburse the school committees for the costs of providing student transportation services to public and private school pupils. This bill recognizes the extraordinary cost that all districts pay for transportation. These costs are not currently included in the school funding formula, and they need to be recognized and reimbursed. In South Kingstown, this cost for transportation of students alone costs 7% of the entire school budget, and this district covers over 56 square miles. I know we're not alone in having these large districts to cover. I know we're not alone in having a very burdensome cost of transporting the students put upon us. And after a decade of losing out with the new, now old school funding formula, and with talk of a new funding formula being developed, the time to understand and acknowledge the extraordinary burden that this puts on a community is now. So I've asked the clerk to pass out the numbers for SK specifically. I encourage you to reach out to your own districts to find out what they are. For the proposed 21-22 budget, we're looking at $4.8 million, completely unreimbursed for all of the school's transportation costs included in what Rep. Fogarty's bill referenced, down to, special ed and on and on. It is a terrible burden, and I hope that we can do something to acknowledge and reimburse the towns for these costs.
Thank you for your bill. Are there any questions of the panel for anyone for the sponsor of that particular bill? Yes, Rep. Wilkinson, please.
Thank you, Rep. Tansy. Just one real quick question. When you talk about the costs of transportation, are we also including the costs for any extracurricular activities the students may engage in?
Currently, I'm asking for all of those things to be considered, and as the budget for the SK school district shows, that does include all costs. So as I said, it's special ed, general ed, the out of district, it is like after school activities, whether they be athletics or for academics. All costs are combined in that. But alone, just for general ed, the proposed budget is over $3 million. It's $3.1 million for this coming school year.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
You are quite welcome. Any other questions of the sponsor of the bill, please? If not, thank you for putting it into play. We really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Okay, I see Whip Kazarian is back. And, you want, okay. Okay, great. Okay, then Rep. Falella.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. Thank you for hearing my bill 5668 tonight. This bill impacts state workers, teachers, and municipal workers under the MERS system. The retirement age for these three groups of employees is the person's normal Social Security retirement age 67 for most folks. Age 5668 would allow those who are at least the age of age 60 with 30 years or more of service to retire. This bill would change the retirement. This would change retirement changes that Governor Raimondo had led back in 2011. They were very harsh on the teachers, state workers, and municipal workers. These workers were already paying from almost their entire retirement under the old law because of the high employee contribution. Workers would benefit if they could retire earlier than the plan currently allows. These workers are already paying a lot for their retirement. Members' contributions are 3.75% of salary for the traditional retirement benefit plus 5% of salary into their individual retirement account. 401k holders in the private sector can start drawing from their account at age 59 and a half. This bill would allow public employers who may want to hire new staff at a starting pay rates lower than the pay rates of retirement eligibility employees at their top step. As Rep. Carol McEntee indicated, I did request from the Chairman Abney a fiscal note, and also Treasurer Magazina had also emailed me about the pension impact statement would be needed as well. So I understand that, and I would hope you'd consider it this time around. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I did receive a request, and it's being worked on as we speak. Any questions of the sponsor for that bill? Do you have one? Rep. Bella Wilkinson, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank Rep. Falella. Thank you very much. I have one quick question. When you're talking about the teachers being reimbursed, at the time that Governor Raimondo had put the debt squeeze on the teachers' retirement, she had also taken away some of the monies from military veterans who bought into the system. So they had paid in, and then they lost that time that they had paid for. Would this bill make them whole as well?
I would love to see that. Possibly we could, because it just states, well, it says state workers, teachers, and municipal workers, but I'd maybe defer to one of the attorneys, but I'd be glad to maybe amend it to that.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, too. Okay. If there are no further questions, then we'll close the hearing on that particular bill. And Whip Kazarian, you're back.
Oh, yes, I am. Thank you very
Okay.
much, Chairman and members of the committee. I will try and keep this as quick as possible. I know it's been a long night. This bill, I tried to mirror off of what our body passed, maybe, I think it was 2015 or 2016. In the budget, we provided for additional money. It was $2 million additional dollars for school districts to hire additional SROs. I do want to just make a correction in here. I think the way the bill is written, it might look a little funny. I'm not looking to defund any SROs or get rid of SROs. I'm just looking to add additional funds, an additional $2 million in state funds for school districts to hire additional school social workers. The work that school social workers do is incredible. They are on the front lines with students that are experiencing mental health issues. When you talk to school social workers, they'll usually say they're that person in the middle between the parents and the teachers and the students, trying to help them, figure out what the issues are, helping them connect them to the right care and the right services. They do incredible work, and I think it's important that our state provide extra funding for school districts to hire them. So that's what the bill does, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Are there any questions of the sponsor of that particular bill, please? Yes, Representative Ruggiero.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Whip Kazarian. Yeah, as I read this, I was just concerned why the resource officers were struck out and the social workers were put in. I thought you were trying to replace them. Was that a drafting error?
Well, you know what I think happened? When I went to put the bill request in, I said, I'd like to mirror what we did with student resource officers. I'd like to mirror that with school social workers. So I think what happened is they probably just printed it out and deleted the student resource officers and added in social workers. So that is absolutely not my intention.
So they didn't hear quite what you were trying to add social workers to the school resource officers.
Or I was just trying to mimic what we did with school resource officers and mirror that for what we would do with school social workers. But I think there's just kind of a lost in translation where they just got rid of the SROs. So not my intention, not what we want to do.
No. But that's why communication is so important.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for putting this in. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for your question.
Thank you. If somebody was going to catch that, Reverend Zero is one to catch it, so that's pretty good. Thank you very much. Rep. Bella Wilkinson, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Whip, I have a quick question.
Sure.
So I'm looking at page 4, and it begins with line 31 and it goes to line 34, speaking specifically about the appropriated fiscal year 21-22 for an additional sum of $2 million. So what would happen in follow-on years? Are you looking at doing this just the one fiscal year, or are you looking at making this a regular part of the budget?
That's an excellent question. So something that we passed 2 years ago, maybe it might have been 3, was starting to collect data on our social workers to show how many students they're talking to, what types of issues they're talking to them, how much time they're spending with their students. So from that data that we looked at, and that was taken by the Department of Education, we felt that there was a need to add more student social workers into the mix. So the way the bill is drafted, it's just for the year, but we continue to take that data to make sure that they are helping a lot of students, that the money is being well spent. So yeah, for now, I guess it would just be the first year. Getting that data back, we'd be able to make more educated decision as we go from there.
And again, the social workers would be providing direct services for the students, correct? We're
Yes,
not
they do,
looking
yes.
at designing a hierarchy of a department of, sociology, or putting in some additional levels in the school districts, are we?
No, absolutely not. Just
Good.
for the students and for the
Excellent.
teachers and the parents to have more people to help, with the issues that children are experiencing.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, excellent questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Another excellent question. Did I hear somebody say a permanent part of the budget?
Yes, you did.
I thought I did. I'm just, my ears perked up whenever I hear permanent part of the budget, but that's okay. I hear you. Okay, thank you very much then for this.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, everybody.
You're good. Thank you very much. Okay. So I think we'll go down to, I want to get Rep. Diaz, Chairwoman Diaz going. She has an appointment. So you want to take up your bill, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the Finance Committee. The House Bill 5239 in front of you tonight is a bill that I had the pleasure to work for many years now. The bill will creating a position of the right, allocating $200,000 to have somebody who dedicated time in the profession to set a curriculum to giving students in Rhode Island the opportunity to learn another language than English. This bill is very important because at the early years of life is when we have a great opportunity to learn another language, at quite many languages, and when you are adult like me, you are still speaking broken English because it's hard to do that. I had to laugh in the middle of the night, and also, it's a great opportunity for the state because we're competing at the global level. We don't have the ability to have all the children in our state exposed to learning different language than English. I know by personal experience because my children and grandchildren are speaking 2 languages, which open then to more opportunities in the future when they graduate. In fact, my older daughter, she's bilingual in working at the Department of Labor, where she's able to help a lot of people when they need assistance in Spanish or English. So having children participating in dual language program, which means the school will provide half of the day in one language and the another half in different language. Could be Portuguese, could be Italian, or whatever language the family feel like is the appropriate for their children. And by doing that, as I mentioned before, we're preparing children for better workforce for the state and impacting and finance in the future. So we should be investing now and allocating only $200, only, I wish, only $200,000 to this program, and finally having kids in our state be able to compete at the global level. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Are there any questions of the sponsor of that bill, please? I'm waiting for Rep. Bella Wilkerson with a question. I know, yeah, I know. Okay, well, if there are no questions, did you have one? Okay, Representative, please.
I have a comment, actually. I just want to say thank you, that this is wonderful. They say when you speak 2 languages, you lead 2 lives. So,
yes.
Questo è molto importante. Grazie mille.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, I appreciate that. Okay, so that'll end the hearing on that particular bill, please. I'm going to read 2 bills into the record. One is by Chairman McNamara and Chairwoman Serper. Just for the record, they're not here at this point in time. But Bill 5062 by Chairman McNamara, it establishes an early childhood innovation fund and appropriates $1 million annually to close the achievement gap for at-risk children. If you have any questions, you know how to reach Chairman McNamara, but wanted to read 5062 into the record. Looks like there's no questions, so we'll close the hearing on that. The next is Bill 5208 by Chairwoman Serper, and it restructures the Professional Development Investment Fund and allocates $200 per student to each district. Again, if you have any questions of the Chairwoman, she would be glad to entertain those. That was Bill 5208. Great. And I'll just say once again, as I will intermittently, that once we get all of the bills introduced and we're going at a pretty good clip and people are getting their bills in, if you're waiting out online, it is highly unlikely that we're going to get to almost 400 people tonight. So you have to make the decision yourselves as to whether you want to stay online or not for the couple of minutes that we'll have. But we want to make sure that we get as many people as we possibly can before 11 o'clock. That is the hour that I'm going to be looking at that we dismiss for the evening, because we will be coming back next Wednesday with a lot more hours in tow that we can make sure that everyone who wants to be heard can be heard. So I'll do that every once in a while so that people will know. Okay, so we have some in-house bills, got those done. The next would be 5317, and I think that's Rep. Quattrochi. I see him on the screen. You want to introduce your bill, sir? Good, how are you?
Very good, thank you. Yeah, so this bill simply provides funding for teachers to get educated in the premier dyslexia education system, which is Orton Gillingham. And I thought I was supposed to have my constituent, who is an expert and a champion for dyslexic kids, on the line right after me, so I could introduce Mr. Joe Giacomo. Is that possible?
Okay, I'm sorry. I was listening. Now, what was your last? Oh, okay, great. Does anybody have any questions?
No, he had a question.
Oh, a question for me. I'm sorry. Okay, go ahead. Okay, Rep. Quattrochi, yeah, you had a question for myself?
Yeah, I was speaking with the clerk. I thought that I would be able to introduce my constituent and who's the expert and the champion for kids with dyslexia. Could I introduce him so he can testify?
If he's helping you introduce the bill, we can do that. But he still has only 2 or 3 minutes to do that.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Is he there with you?
I believe.
Oh, okay.
He's on the
No,
phone.
I see. Yeah. If he's on the phone, I don't know how far down the list he is. I thought he was there with you. Oh, you got him? Okay. If we can get him now, then we'll get him on. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Anybody who's helping introduce the bill as the witness, that's fine. That's different from witnesses who are just for or against. Okay. We're doing our best to get him on the line now. Okay, what was his name, please, Bob?
Attorney Joe Giacomo.
Oh, okay, great. You're here as an expert witness for Rep. Quattrochi, so you've got 2 or 3 minutes to finish out what he was saying. Is that good enough for you, sir?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, members. I'm the proud father of 3 dyslexic children. I've been on the scene for about 3 years, writing bills that Rep. Quattrochi has graciously introduced. Let me give you some quick background. I know it's a long night. 20% of the school population approximately is dyslexic. 50% of your prison population is dyslexic. 77% of your juveniles in detention are illiterate. The critical years for brain development in child are birth through 4th grade. After 4th grade, the white matter in the brain starts to harden, the circulatory paths hardening so you don't get as much development. This bill basically asks for $50,000 for teacher training. Now, there are 2 disciplines for the multisensory phonics-based approach to reading, which benefits all children, not just dyslexic. There's Wilson and there's Orton-Gillingham. This bill asks for Orton-Gillingham specifically because Orton-Gillingham is based in science and it is peer-reviewed. The Commissioner of RIDE is actually Orton-Gillingham certified. Wilson is a canned version and you do not get the results. The cost of a 5-day IMSC Orton-Gillingham training, if a teacher wants to elect to take it, is approximately $1,000. I've had teachers in numerous districts who have stated to me that they do not have the money and the schools do not have the money for this training, but they want to take it. This past year, I got the Brent Sopel Foundation. Brent Sopel is a Chicago Blackhawks former hockey player, Stanley Cup winner, who's dyslexic. He sponsored 4 West Warwick teachers in the IMSC Orton-Gillingham training. All 4 of them are supposed to be writing in, Mr. Chair. We are talking about literacy in the state. It affects every community. Our scores here in Situate are about 30% of grade level. In Providence, they're worse. If we can give this money to RIDE and let them implement a program where teachers can take this program and get it paid for, we will be able to have a multisensory phonics-based approach to reading within the curriculum in the schools within 5 or 6 years. And this is even more important this year because Rep. O'Brien and Rep. Amore have sponsored bills to basically shut down charter schools for the next 3 years. And the reason that it's important is because of that is that I have... Thank you. Thank you. I have a corresponding bill before the House Education Committee to ask for 2 chartered dyslexic schools in the state for the dyslexic children of the state that are profoundly dyslexic. Again, I appreciate your consideration when you look at a mere $50,000 and you compare it to the cost of incarceration of adults who are dyslexic and incarceration to juveniles within the justice system that are being held. It is a mere penny in the bucket. I hope that the committee considers this seriously. I think it would be a great start to helping with the literacy program in this state for all children. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your testimony. We appreciate that. Are there any questions of the sponsor before we? Okay, thanks for introducing that, Rep. Quattrochi. We appreciate that and your guests. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. We have two bills by, and I can see him now. He's by Rep. Amore. You still on, Rep. Amore? We've got two bills you want to introduce at this point, sir?
I am here.
Okay, there you go. You unmuted yourself. There you go. I have you down for two bills tonight. You want to introduce both?
Sure. I'll introduce the AP one first, since that's the one I have in front of me, and then I'll go to the other.
Okay.
So the first bill is 5350, and that would have the state pick up the cost for free and reduced lunch students' advanced placement exams. So we have about 3,600 students who fit that description who take advanced placement exams every year. Those exams cost about $90 a piece. The subsidy from the College Board is only $22. And so it's a disincentive for many students to actually take the test. So they can go through the school year in the course, and then they can't afford the test, they don't take it. Now, once you don't take the test, you can't earn the college credits associated with that test. So there is obviously a fiscal impact on this. We have this estimated at about $200,000, but the potential savings for these students and their families, if those AP courses meet the requirements and are accepted by the colleges and universities that those students attend, and if they're taking advanced placement courses, they're attending those colleges and universities, that's in the millions of dollars. So this bill tries to rectify what I believe is an unfair situation for students who are receiving free and reduced lunch, who are really forced into a situation where in many cases they can't take the test because they just can't afford it. If they're taking 2 or 3 AP courses, well, then that's 3 times the cost. And so what this bill would do is it would have the state subsidize the rest of the cost of that examination. And so I thank the members of the committee and the chairman for their time, and I'll answer any questions if you have them.
Thank you. Any questions of the sponsor of that bill, please? Okay, I think I'm seeing none. Then so we're in the hearing on that. And your next one?
Sure. The next one is 6140, and this goes along the lines of both Rep. Tanzi and Rep. Fogarty's bills. It tries to address transportation issues in the schools. This is an unfinished product, proposal for a House committee on transportation costs that will look at more in depth this issue. This bill's been in for a few years, but it tries to ease that burden that the districts face in transportation. In this case, special education, DCYF students. But it goes along the same lines as both Representative Tanzi and Fogarty's concern that the transportation costs are significant, and this is statewide. This does not impact any one district more than the other. This is an issue across the board. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, sir. Are there any questions of the sponsor of that particular bill? Okay, if not, I won't close the hearings on these bills because we do have people still on the line, and until we get to as many as we can, we'll keep, the bills are still open for that. So if you heard me say we're closing the hearing, it doesn't mean that we're not going to call up the witnesses. But I do want to say again, we're getting close to a point where we will be calling witnesses, not at this moment, but we are not going to get to 380 people tonight, but we will have a lot of time, hopefully, next Wednesday to get to most. So if you're not heard tonight, you will be heard, but people may have schedules or other things they need to do. So if you know you're down, and we're taking the people that I talked to generally by the way that they signed up on the phone, to be fair with everyone. So, okay. Now we
Mr.
have,
Chairman.
yes. Yes.
This is Rep Barrows. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. So could I be included in the in being present and also on holding all vote for further study?
You certainly may, sir. We got you.
Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Chairman, this is Jay. Same request, Chairman.
Okay, thank you very much, Jay. We got you too. Is there anybody else out in the stratosphere that I don't see on the screen that would like to speak and let me know you're here? Okay, hearing none, I think we got everybody in. Okay, Rep. O'Brien, I believe you have 3 bills that you want to put into play, please.
Start off with 5367.
Okay, that's great. Mhm.
This is Rep. Katie Kazarian mentioned this bill, right? And I do want to make this it's a bill to reimburse school districts for hiring 50% salary for hiring newly hired school resource officers. And we've done it for the past 3 years. It's going to expire next year, I believe. And this bill would make it a permanent part of the budget.
Yeah, okay.
Mr. Chairman, we can't hear Rep O'Brien. I think it must be mute.
Are you muted?
Sorry.
Okay, great.
So again, I'll just repeat since I was muted. I apologize. So this bill will reimburse the school districts who hired new resource officers over the past 3 years. So that $2 million that we've put in over the past 3 years will continue. For the resource officers. Right? And similarly, what Katie's I strongly support Katie's bill for social workers also. So that's what I have to say on that bill.
Thank you. Any questions of the sponsor on that bill? If not, please proceed to your next one.
Yeah, let's see.
I think it's 5216.
5216. This is also a bill for like when kids are taken from our school districts and go to charter schools, they get whatever the allowance is. Like in my district, I believe is $17,000. But they should have an obligation to keep those kids for 1 full year. That's what they're doing when they take that money. But so when they disenroll or return a student to the sending districts, they have to send back the money that they collected for that kid, for that student. And that's that in a nutshell. No question. And that's it for that one.
Okay, thank you very much. I see we have Chairman Serpa who just came in, and I read her bill into play at the time, but she's here. And before you do your last one, if you want to speak on your own bill, Chairwoman, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, members. I was up in corporations, that's why I'm delayed. My bill, which I'm still trying to get organized, H5208, the Paul Crowley Student Investment Initiative, restructures professional development the way those of us who have been in education and teachers who are currently in field of education. It restructures the way professional development, frankly, is awarded. The entities that used to determine how professional development money was allocated on a per-teacher basis are identified in this bill the way it used to be in the old language that we'd like to strike, are identified in lines 14 to 16 on page 1, and the new designees for allowing these expenditures are identified in lines 33 to 34 on pages 2 and in lines 2 and 3 on page 3. I think we can all relate to the fact that teachers certainly had to reinvent the way education was delivered during the pandemic. They literally turned down a dime, and they did it admirably with no professional development, no training. They didn't see it coming, but to their credit, they did it. They did it on short notice, and through no one's fault, with the same equipment that they had been using, frankly, when they were in the classroom. They used the same materials. And all this time, talk about their obtaining new credentials was going on. And I know in one particular school department, a major school department, it's a very controversial issue that many of them will be laid off or have to seek other positions because they're not attaining ELL certification. So what we'd like to do in this bill is to asking this committee to allot $200 per student to be dedicated to aligning educator professional development consistent with 21st century framework and state assessments, something we didn't give much forethought to in the old way professional development monies were decided. And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman. I think you've been called that before,
Yeah,
Mr. Chairman, and members of the committee, but I do think you have someone on the line, unless you have questions of me.
Any questions of the sponsor of that particular bill? Thank you, Chairwoman, so much for being able to come down and present it yourself. We appreciate that. Okay. What we're doing, Chairwoman, is that we're getting all bills into play, and then we're going to the phones when we can. Okay, Representative Brown, I think you still had another bill to put into place, sir.
Yes, the last one is the moratorium on the new expansion of charter schools, and it's exactly what it's said. And the reason why I put this bill in is because this would absolutely devastate my regular school system in North Providence. It will drain over $3 million of money away from the North Providence school system to charter schools across the state. And program, North Providence High and the rest of our schools are outperforming many of the charter schools that we are sending kids to. For example, our students, 12 students from North Providence High School just graduated from CCRI with a CNA license, 12 last week. So that's one career pathway that we are doing with due education that we passed in 2013, which North Providence High and the North Providence middle schools are taking full advantage of. So this money will drain these institutions, and next year, these pathways. And next year, we have 79 kids from our sophomore class. 79 of kids from our sophomore class will enter CCRI as freshmen and as juniors into North Providence High School. And hopefully in 2 years, they will graduate high school with a associate's degree from CCRI. So this money, just like money from, it will drain and hurt that system. And we are not a failing school system. We are an achieving school system that helps every student. There is no reason to take kids away from us. And also, it's not just my school system that's going to be affected. It's affecting school systems like Lincoln, Cumberland, Providence, Pawtucket, and so forth. And if anybody wants to see if your school system's affected, I got the list right here. That's it, Chairman.
Thank you very much, Representative Bryan, for your presentation. Did you have a question for Representative Bryan? Okay.
Thank you, Representative Bryan. You say that you're taking students away from your school. Are they taking them, or are they choosing to leave the school system and go to one of their choice?
With all due, that is no. They're giving seats away from our public school systems, and again, it benefits. Charter schools are creating opportunities for a few at the sacrifice of the many. And that's simply, we are going to have to raise taxes 10 to 20% in the town of North Providence to support two systems. Now, if that's what you want for your districts, so forth.
No, I want what's best for the student. And the question was, were they taking the students, or were they choosing?
I already answered that question, Jim.
Okay.
Okay, thanks. All right. What we're going to do now is something.
I have one question, Chairman.
I'm sorry. Yes, go ahead, please.
Going back to his other bill, Rep. O'Brien, you talked about kids coming out prematurely for the school year and the cities and towns not being reimbursed for the delta. How often does that happen?
That's something we don't know because they're not transparent enough. But I do know in Providence, they send kids back in North Providence, they send kids back. How many, we don't know. And that's another reason why we need the moratorium, so we get a true accounting of the costs.
Okay. What we're going to do now.
Thank you, Chairman.
You're welcome. What we're going to do now is something that we do here, not often, but when it arises. We have a special guest that would like to speak on the bill that we have here, and it's our brand new minted Governor McKee, I'm sorry, who we're going to allow him to speak. He's the governor. This is his first time, I think, before the House Finance Committee as governor. So welcome, Governor. How are you this evening?
Very good, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for having me here.
You're welcome. Okay, you can proceed, sir, please.
Thank you. So I just want to thank you for the opportunity, and with all the challenges that our state faces right now, I'm in my 21st day, and I wasn't really expecting to be in front of your committee, but I do believe it's really important for me to be here tonight to speak about a topic that I know a great deal about, and the importance of educating boys and girls who call Rhode Island home. So I am here tonight to share concerns regarding House Bill 5193, which places a moratorium on public charter schools and would also block pending applications for public charter expansion and additions that are currently in the pipeline. This means that new schools, which have already been secured locations, hired staff, and committed to parents, will have the rug pulled out right from under them if this bill passes. All students deserve an excellent public education. I'm honored to be here, adding my voice, parents that are representing Stop the Wait, who will testify at this hearing on behalf of their children. Right now, there are many challenges facing our schools, hundreds of hours of lost learning time caused by COVID-19 closures, unmet student mental health needs, and that only have been intensified by the isolation and uncertainty of the pandemic. I think we all understand that these issues must be intentionally, proactively addressed as part of Rhode Island's recovery. House Bill 5193 is not a solution for the challenges facing our public schools, and it does not offer a plan to give our teachers, students the support that they need to be successful. Instead of addressing these issues head on, which should be our top priority, this legislation limits opportunities for all our families and students, and in particular students of color and students from economically challenged families who face the highest risk of falling behind. Right now, Rhode Island should be focused more on creating opportunities, more opportunities for all students, not fewer. As this legislation is being considered, I think it's important to note that Rhode Island will receive a historic amount of federal education funding through the American Rescue Plan. Over $400 million is slated to come into our districts to support public education, and I expect millions more in grants to help Providence schools. That's 5 times what I helped secure for the Rhode Island when we received the Race to the Top under President Obama. My office is working on a plan to spend these dollars effectively, and we asked for the General Assembly's partnership. Coming together, we can reinforce and refocus our energy on creating opportunity and designing a plan to help all students in all our public schools. A moratorium on public charter schools is not a comprehensive plan that will fix our education system. But right now, we do have the opportunity to create one. We have an opportunity to get our schools fully open, all kids, all classrooms, 5 days a week. We have the opportunity to expand tutoring for kids who need it. We can provide more support for our teachers. We can expand early childhood education and college and career access for high school students, all with federal dollars instead of Rhode Island revenue. I invite the General Assembly to partner with our administration and create a plan that's focused on our students. They should be our top priority. COVID-19 has caused many challenges to count, but there's a silver lining here. Let's meet this moment head on and create opportunities for all students. The goal is to improve public education system. We should not start by limiting public schools that have proven to be a lifeline for thousands of families and students, particularly in the Black and brown families and in our low-income communities. For the remainder of my term in 2022, the focus of my office in the Department of Education will be on supporting the public schools we have, the ones that are open or approved to be open. Right now, new charters are not my top priority. My top priority is to stop any moratorium bill on charters and protect new charters that have been approved. I do not support House Bill 5193 or any bill that would place a moratorium or negatively impact the children and families who currently attend an existing or approved charter school. This bill is not the starting point of the work we need to do together. It only serves to divide us. It is not necessary, and it doesn't solve our problems. I will work with those concerned about charter growth. I am asking you to work with me on the challenges facing all students in all our public schools. My ask to the committee today is this: don't act on this bill. Instead, work with me on a meaningful plan to help all our students, all our schools. We will partner with parents, students, teachers, school administrators, municipal leaders, the Rhode Island Department of Education, and members of the General Assembly to get the job done. This is a historic moment. We can't waste it. Work with me to lift up all students, to lift up all schools, and finally stop the wait. Thank you so much, Chairman, for having me here tonight. I'd be happy to answer questions now or and down the future on this issue. Very important issue. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Governor. We really appreciate that. Be careful about asking and answering questions on this committee, because sometimes, it can be interesting. But no, we really appreciate your taking the time out of what we know is a busy day of yours to give your perspective. And I just always want to remind the witnesses, the members of the committee and the members of the public that one of the things that we do not do in House Finance is to argue among or with the witnesses. This is to get information, whether it's pro or con for a bill. And we really thank you so much for giving us your perspective on that. And then agreeing, if somebody has a question they need to ask him, please do. But as I said, with every governor that we've worked with, this is not the time to get into a back and forth with someone who's given their perspective or opinion. Okay, seeing none, Governor, have a great evening, and see you on the trail tomorrow at some point. Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, thank you, and thank you to all the members for getting, having the ability to get back to work this year, and after missing all of 2020, good to have you back. Looking forward to working with you.
It's a good team. Thank you very much, Governor. So now, as I said before, we have on this one particular bill, there were now up to 380 people who had signed up to testify via the phone. Even before getting to that, we have nearly 75 or 80 other people online, on the calls for the other bills. This has worked for us before. So what we're going to start doing now is, in the order that people basically called in, we will ask you to just give us your name, identify yourself, what bill that you are testifying on, whether you for or against the bill, and you have about 2 minutes, not longer than that, to state your case on those on the bills that you're talking about. We think that's fair because we're saying again, everyone who has signed up for a call will get a chance to talk. It just won't be this evening, I can assure you, now with 380 something left to go. So We're going to try and get through it as expeditiously as possible. And if you hear myself or someone saying, please watch your time, it's because you got other people behind you who are doing the same thing. So I think we're now at the point where we can start to take some of the witnesses that are on the phones, and they will be from the bills that you've heard before. We have the bill numbers for you, so just identify yourself, the bill number, whether you're for or against, and give us a couple of minutes. Okay, so we can get the first caller going.
It's because you got other people behind you who are doing the same thing. So I think
Okay.
now at the point
Hey, sir.
we can start to take some of the witnesses that are
Sir, could you turn your volume down, please? You're live. You're on the. I can hear it in the background. Okay.
Oh, hi. Hello.
Good. How you doing?
I'm great. How are you, Mr. Chairman?
Okay. Thank you very much. So you got about a couple of minutes, please.
Okay. Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman and the House Committee. My name is Ayana Malwan, and I work for the United Way of Rhode Island. I'm also here representing the Rhode Island After School Network and the After School Alliance. And I'm in here to support House Bill 5211 with the sponsorship from Representative Julie Casimiro, our champion for after-school, summer, and workforce development programs here in Rhode Island. And I'm here to say that, we have about 59,000 youth waiting on our after-school and out-of-school time learning list, which includes summer and workforce development here in Rhode Island, waiting to get into programs. Rep. Casimiro mentioned how many students, the ratio. Well, we know right now that it's for every one child in a program, there are 3 children waiting to get in. And 89% of parents, Republican, Independent, and Democratic, all agree that public funding should be used to support after-school and summer and workforce development programs here in Rhode Island. That report was released December 8th, 2020, and stopped around March 2020. So it's very recent information that's showing how much support across the state is for public funding here in Rhode Island. So what are the facts? Well, when we recently put out our applications for requests for money for our community impact around racial equity and serving youth, we received 187 applications, which was huge, and 75% of those were for after-school and summer programs. We can't fund them all, so we're asking for the state to invest, because we know for every dollar that we invest in youth, as Representative Casimiro said, we have a $3 return on investment. We get federal investment, we get philanthropic investment. It's time to get state investment in youth. So beyond the stimulus, let's keep healing our economy, and please let's keep investing in our future. And that means investing in these crucial youth programs that only make Rhode Island #1. So please consider this tonight, and I hope that everybody votes yes so that we can continue to provide quality after school and summer programming for our youth.
Okay, thank you for your testimony. We really appreciate that, Ayana. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, our next caller, please. We have Paige.
Hello, yes, Mr. Chairman.
Good, how are you? Paige, you have a few minutes. You have several bills here, so you've got, it looks like you got 5 bills, so you got about 3 minutes on all of them, okay?
Oh, boy. Okay, I've timed myself. I think I get a minute each. I have 6 bills. I'll try to shorten them for you. The first thing is House Bill 5211. Rhode Island Kids Count is in strong support of providing funding for after-school and out-of-school time programs. What children do in the out-of-school time really matters for their success in school and in life, but there are not enough affordable, high-quality out-of-school time programs for the students who need them. There's a substantial gap between high-quality after-school and out-of-school time opportunities for low-income families compared to higher-income families. Higher-income families are more likely to spend up to 7 times more for enrichment activities, and this contributes to persistent gaps in student outcomes. We highly urge you to pass this important legislation so that all students have access to quality programs after school. Our second bill that we are in strong support of is House Bill 5239, the World Language and Dual Language Immersion Act. So research showed that students who are not proficient readers by the end of third grade are 4 times more likely to drop out of high school compared to proficient readers. Our multilingual learners in the year of 2019, only 20% were proficient at reading by third grade. And this data shows us that multilingual learners need more support. And this includes having instruction that draws on their cultural and language assets. And dual language programs help students promote English language acquisitions while also building the child's native language. And being bilingual or multilingual is associated with increased economic social opportunities, increased executive functioning. So we really urge you to support this bill, which will allow for more dual language programs to be offered in Rhode Island schools. The next bill that we are in strong support of is House Bill 6029, which would provide $2 million for funding for hiring of new school social workers. I have some important data that I think is really important to share around the mental health needs of our students in Rhode Island. In Rhode Island, 1 in 5 of our kids have a diagnosable mental health condition. 1 in 10 has a significant functional impairment, and more than 1/3 of our children had a problem obtaining the mental health care needs. According to the 2019 Youth Risk Behavior Survey, 76% of our high school students reported having at least one day in the past month where their mental health was not good. About 1/3 of our high schoolers said that they felt so sad or hopeless for 2 or more weeks that they stopped doing their normal activities. And 15% of our high school students have attempted suicide 1 or more times during the past year. And the 2020 Survey Works results show that 60% of our kids from grades 6 through 12 report that stress interferes with their ability to participate in school. And in the United States, students are 21 more times more likely to visit school-based health centers compared to community health centers, and this is especially true in areas of higher concentration. According to the School Social Work Association, the recommended ratio is 250 students for 1 social worker, but in our state we have about 685 students per social worker. I heard the bell. I just a couple more things. We are in opposition to House Bill 5367, which would make the school resource officer categorical aid permanent. There's research that suggests the presence of law enforcement worsens school climates. And there's a big equity issue when we're looking at the use of school resource officers as measures of discipline in school. The important data for you to know is that in the school year 2015-16 in Rhode Island, our black students were 8% of the student population, but they were 23% of the kids who were referred to law enforcement or were arrested at school. Our Hispanic students were 24% of the student population, but they were 47% of the kids referred to law enforcement, and 36% of the kids were arrested. So there's large disparities. I encourage you to read the report that we included in our written testimony. We are in support of 5699, Increasing Educators of Color Act, some really important data that I hope you all review in there. And lastly, we are opposed to 5193, which is the charter school moratorium. We believe all families should have access to high-quality public education options, which includes high-quality public charter schools. Thank you so much, Chairman, and thank you for the opportunity to provide testimony today.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Okay. And now I think we've got the commissioner on the line. Commissioner Green.
Hi, good evening. This is Commissioner Fonte Green.
Good evening. How are you? This is Chairman Abney.
Good evening, Chairman Abney and members of the House Finance Committee. I'm here this evening to encourage you to stand up for the parents who want an opportunity and a choice for their children. I am opposing Bill 5193. The bill currently before the committee will keep children, predominantly children of color, from our urban core in schools that have failed them and their families for generations. Our charter schools are public schools. We cannot choose to prioritize a school's governance model over the quality of the education it provides our students. I understand the weight of your responsibility as representatives and as members of this committee. You are charged with making decisions that will impact our state and our students. I understand that. While I am personally encouraged by the results of our charter schools, charter schools have created for the students across Rhode Island. I respect that some of the members of the Assembly may want to take more.
Commissioner Green, are you still there? I think we've lost contact with you. Oh, there you are.
The other that is still cautious charter school. Now hear me? Okay. Can you hear me?
I can now, yes. We missed about 2
Can you
minutes of
hear
what
me?
you were saying. Yes.
Okay, sorry. I understand. Okay, so I'm going to start again. I understand the weight of your responsibilities as representatives and as members of this committee. You are charged with making decisions that will impact our state and our students for years to come, and they are never made lightly. While I am personally encouraged by the results of our charter schools have created for our students across Rhode Island, I respect that some members of the Assembly may want to take more time to assess. As always, I am excited to work together with you on issues of curriculum, funding, and any other concerns you may have. However, this bill reaches beyond setting a cautious pace for the expansion of charter schools. This bill denies the families who have already applied for these seats the chance to send their child to a school that's right for them. We are working hard to improve all our schools in the urban core. Over the last few years, we've begun expanding pre-K, creating dual language programs, and have adapted a district-wide curriculum. We have come a long way, but we still have a long way to go, and we all know that. The reality is that improving our schools takes time, and there is an immediate need for high-quality options for Rhode Island students and families. We need to accept responsibility for failing generations of students and families in places like Providence and Central Falls. Over the last 20 years, more than 15,000 children have dropped out of PPSD in Central Falls. Too many to fit in every seat at the Dunkin' Donuts Center. Rhode Island's failure to help those students has cost over $4.5 billion over the last 20 years. But more importantly, it has had lifelong consequences for them. High school dropouts are 35% more likely to be unemployed and make up 80% of incarcerated adults. We cannot fail another generation of students. Locking the students who are relying on these already approved expansion of our charter schools out of their best shot of a high-quality education, tuition-free education, sets us up for just that. The challenge isn't poverty. We're mistaken with that. The challenge is opportunity. Our students in low-performing districts are succeeding when given a fair chance at a good education.
If you could begin a wind down, Commissioner.
Yes, I am. I
Okay.
have too much. 1 second. Only 17% of the children who attended PPSD are capable of completing grade-level work in English and language arts, only 12% in math. Children, however, in those same districts have double the results in ELA and in math. Same children. These are not just numbers. These are hundreds of real Rhode Island children who are succeeding right now because they've been given an opportunity. We cannot shut the door on students who are one step there. As Commissioner of Education, I reject the notion I need to choose between schools. This is 6% of the seats in our state that we're talking about. These schools are held in incredibly high standard, and in fact, we recently closed a charter school because of poor performance. But all types of schools must thrive for all our children to flourish. I'm responsible for every single school and every single student's future. As you consider this piece of legislation tonight, I encourage you to put yourselves in the shoes and consider what these parents want and what the state has already applied these seats to take them retroactively and erase. That's what this bill will do, erase that. I look forward to working with each of you on this issue and make sure that every child in Rhode Island has the opportunity to learn in an excellent classroom and an incredible school. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you so much for your participation in this discussion. Okay, who do we have on the line now? Yeah, okay. We're ready for her. Commissioner Gaines, you're on the line. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Mr. Chair, thank you so much for the opportunity to join with you this evening. My name is Jo Eva Gaines. I've served on the Board of Education intermittently for more than 35 years. I've worked 30 years in public schools in Georgia, South Carolina, and Rhode Island as a teacher and as a guidance counselor. My primary goal as an educator has been to participate in improving equity and access in public education for all children in any way I can. Charter schools and their finances have long been a topic of debate. As a former school board chair for the Newport School Committee, I know how challenging the balancing of school budgets and municipal finances can be. I am not a carte blanche supporter of charter schools. I've opposed the opening and expansion of public charter schools primarily out of fiscal concerns, but for programmatic issues as well. I question the mission of each charter and oppose any that would create a parallel system to that of the existing LEA. If a charter seeks to offer a particular effort to establish curriculum around a particular theme, such as performing arts, math, science, a targeted population, career orientation, etc., I'm inclined to lend a support. My opinion of charter schools changed with the recognition of how much more successful our students are when they have the chance to attend one of these schools. The successes are staring us in the face. They cannot be denied. The opportunity to choose a charter school moves at a faster rate than we can undo decades of bias, divestment, inequity, and inequality that we see in our urban core. Parents should not be told to wait for our traditional systems to improve their outcomes, as their children deserve a quality education now. We need action. A moratorium is inaction. We need to understand why children of color
We got about 30
thrive.
seconds, Ms. Gaines.
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
trying. We need to understand why their peers are struggling in daily district-run schools. I encourage us to study this issue and increase collaboration between districts and charter schools so more of our district schools can learn why students are so much more successful in the charter schools, why parents are choosing them, and what best practices the schools can learn from each other. Every child deserves a chance and the opportunity to attend an excellent school. Please, let us support parents in their seeking a high-quality educational option for their sons and daughters and oppose HB 5193. Thank you so much. Now,
you.
Chairman Abney,
Yes,
now
ma'am.
that I'm off the clock, I wanted to publicly thank you for your service. You've done a fantastic job for us on Aquidneck Island, and your leadership has benefited all of Rhode Island.
Thank you. I really appreciate that, but that's for another time than here. Okay. Thank you so much.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye. Okay. Ms. Cottom. Ms. Cottom,
Yes,
you're on the line, please, for your brief comments.
thank you. Good evening, committee members. My name is Barbara Cottom, and I'm joining you as the chair of the Rhode Island Board of Education. I'm here tonight to urge you to listen to the parents who are asking for an opportunity and a choice for their children's education and to oppose House Bill 5193. Last year alone, Rhode Island charters received more than 20,000 applications from our families, most from Providence. These families are looking for what is best for their children, and we have a duty to listen and respond. We are leveraging charter schools to give parents a lifeline when their son or daughter would otherwise be attending a failing school. 9 out of the 10 high schools in Providence and Central Falls are 1- and 2-star schools. 5 stars is the best. That's more than just a statistic. This is indefensible. The charter seats approved in December by the Council on Elementary Education went through an extensive review process. Yet if this bill passes, there are students in Providence tonight who will see the vote and know that they have no choice but to attend one of those low-performing high schools no matter how hard they try. We cannot allow their zip code to determine their destiny. We must give these children their own opportunity while we simultaneously work to improve our schools for all students and teachers. Our young people need to graduate from high school with the skills and experiences to prepare them for post-secondary success. Most frequently cited concerns from potential employers who are looking to come to Rhode Island are our schools' low performance and that we have a skilled workforce. In 2016, a financial analysis by Brown University compared the wages of Achievement First graduates to graduates from PPSD. AF graduates were expected to earn, on average, $20,000 to $25,000 more per student per year.
About 30 seconds, Ms. Cottom.
We all know we need to look at the funding formula, and that is an important conversation to have, but that should not stop us from taking steps to ensure that we are giving our children the best learning and opportunity we can. We have made little, if any, progress in almost 30 years since the 1993 Report on Education, and we cannot wait any longer. Please speak for our children and oppose this bill. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much for your testimony. It was very helpful for us. Okay. Is he on the line? Okay. Is Keith on the line? Who? Keith. Kate. Oh, I'm sorry. Keith. Okay, Kate, you're on the line.
Hi.
Hi,
my name is Katie. I'm good. How are you?
Not too bad. You have two bills that you're testifying on?
Yes.
Okay, take your brief comments, please.
So I'm testifying against H5367 and testifying for H6029. I'm a parent to an autistic kid, and he gets dysregulated and distressed sometimes. When that happens, his nervous system is firing hard, and he yells. He gets physical, too, sometimes. He's learning to control this, but he needs training, gentleness, trust, and support. I have seen videos of distressed kids beaten, tased, pepper sprayed, and handcuffed by police at their schools. In other words, police are using weapons against distressed children in schools. Aside from the obvious immediate harm, this breaks trust and spreads fear and makes distressed children more distressed. This would break my son if this happened to him. Distressed kids in school need trained counselors and social workers to help them learn to regulate their emotions. Police officers have no business being involved. Add that to the fact that the vast majority of arrests in Providence, in the Providence school system, is kids of color. That's 92%. And when you see that fact, you see we have a collaboration happening between schools and the police that's actually driving racial inequity. In other words, we are criminalizing kids of color with our tax dollars in our schools. And that's it for my comments. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much for your testimony. We really appreciate it. Okay.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
In other words,
Okay, we have the next caller, please.
Hi.
Could you just state your name, please, and which bill you're on and whether you're for or against in just a couple of minutes.
Okay.
You can proceed.
Oh, my name is Dr. Corinne McCamey. I am for HB 5211.
Okay, do you have like a minute now to, is there anything you want to say on it? You supporting it?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I have something to say.
Okay, it's got to be very brief though. Okay.
Okay. I'm the founding co-director of the Youth Development Program at Rhode Island College and the Associate Professor of Culture, Communities, and Education at Rhode Island College. And I'd like to tell you about my kids. So when I founded the Youth Development Program, my mother-in-law asked me, you teach about leadership and after-school programs, and yet you send your own children to after school? Why are you outsourcing this? You do such a great job yourself. But that's the point. Enrolling my children in after-school programs provided them with opportunities to work with trusted adults who are not me
and to connect with other young people. And their after-school program, relationships and experiences have really helped them in their life and actually surviving the COVID-19 pandemic. So the kids my children met at ages 3 and 5 are now helping them survive in lockdown at ages 13 and 15. My son got a black belt in his after-school kung fu class, and he's used those skills to teach himself boxing. My kids are multiracial, and so we can, in summer Chinese language programs, really help them develop their positive identities in their culture and language, right? And that's really helped them as they've watched the anti-Asian violence on TV and in our family. So OST has helped my children become their best selves. OST is not an afterthought. All young people, regardless of income, need and deserve OST. It's not simply a longer school day. It really provides experiential, educational experiences.
You have
that
about 30
foster
seconds,
positive
ma'am.
relationships. Confidence, problem solving, and it's really important for all children in Rhode Island. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. We really appreciate that. Okay, would you identify yourself and with your name and tell us which bill you're speaking on very briefly, please?
Hi, my name is Rachel Bishop. I live in Providence, and I'm speaking in support of H6029.
Okay, go ahead. You have a couple of minutes, please.
Thank you. Thank you, members of the committee, for taking the time to listen to this testimony. I'm testifying in support of H6029 as a public health professional and someone who works in behavioral health policy, mental health policy. Police in schools do not make children safer. That is not a controversial opinion. It is very well established public health fact. We've had over 50 years of trying this out, and there has simply not been evidence in the many studies that have been done on this to demonstrate a positive effect of school resource officers in school settings to improve safety. There is, on the other hand, plenty of evidence that school resource officers actually have a negative effect on academic outcomes, which includes worse graduation rates, worse college enrollment rates, and there's also ample evidence, as I'm sure many of you are aware, that these outcomes are experienced in racialized ways. So we can see that right here in Providence. Black students are only 16% of the Providence public schools students, but they represent 30% of the arrests of those students. Of course, we all know that arrested students are more likely to drop out, less likely to be able to make it back into school in a supported way. So this is quite high stakes, and there really is another way to make sure that schools are safe. And the way that you do that is by funding mental health supports for kids. That's how you keep kids safer. I think anyone who's got a kid in this committee would rather have their kids be able to talk to someone supportive when they're having a hard time and lashing out, rather than be met with a police officer with a gun. So please, I'm asking that you will support H6029 and fund school social workers, not more money into school
30 seconds,
resource
please.
officers. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, we have a Gloria.
Hi there.
Hi, Victoria. You're on for a
Good
couple minutes,
evening.
please. Hi, you have about 2 minutes.
Wonderful. Thank you. My name is Victoria Ressler. I'm an assistant professor at Rhode Island College, where I direct our Youth Development Master's program that prepares students to lead, research, and innovate in out-of-school time settings. I'm speaking tonight in favor of House Bill 5211. And I'm speaking as a working mother to 2 elementary-age children who relies on out-of-school time. And I'm speaking tonight also as a board member of Youth in Action, an incredible OST organization located in South Providence. Now, you already know that the out-of-school funding is popular, necessary, and smart.
You know the statistics about parents supporting this work. You know that the demand far exceeds capacity, and you know that for every dollar invested in OST, it returns $3 to our state economy. What you may not know is the crucial role that OST orgs play in times of crisis. When 15-year-old William Parsons was tragically and fatally shot in September 2019, OST spaces like Youth in Action opened doors early and stayed late for weeks to process young people's grief and trauma and to organize around public safety. And in the last year of the pandemic, the same organizations have been working triple and quadruple time to maintain community connections, provide for young people's basic needs, and offer vital emotional support. At Youth in Action, the youth we serve are predominantly Black, Indigenous, and youth of color, first or second generation, and working class. They come from communities hit hardest by the devastation of the pandemic. Yet with intentional and consistent support, youth at Youth in Action have channeled these struggles towards social change. They pivoted existing work on language justice, domestic violence, and outdoor equity to meet the demands of COVID and started new timely projects. The adult leaders at Youth in Action advocated tirelessly to ensure that youth have the resources, care, and support they need. Our young people have a lot of healing to do from the losses of this year and the ongoing harms of structural racism. Out of school time spaces, I've got it. Out of school time spaces are essential partners in helping our youth, families, and state recover. I advocate strongly for the passage of this critical legislation. Thank you so much for hearing my testimony.
Thank you for giving your testimony. We really appreciate that. Just for a time check on everyone, we still have well over 400 more phone calls to listen to, so we're going to go until about 11 tonight. So if you think you're way down the line, we're going to meet again on not this Wednesday, but the next Wednesday to continue until we get everybody done. So just keeping a time check for those of you who may be staying up later than you normally do. Okay, so the next caller, please. Aaron. Hello, Aaron.
Hello.
Good. Is your television is the sound turned up on your television?
No.
Okay, great. Well, you're on for a couple of minutes. Please just give us your name and which bill you are for, and a couple of minutes of conversation.
Okay. Thank you, Chair Abney and members of the committee. My name is Erin Papa. I'm a resident of Providence and director of the Coalition for a Multilingual Rhode Island. I'm here to support tonight House Bill 5293, the World Language and Dual Language Immersion Act, as well as House Bill 5699 that would establish increasing opportunities for teachers of color act. Our coalition had a press conference this morning with Representative Diaz and others to strongly advocate for a number of bills that would help us to support the development of multilingual education programs across our state. The World Language and Dual Language Immersion Act would create a position at the Rhode Island Department of Education that could help lead and coordinate these efforts. We've been advocating for this for a number of years now. We know that dual language education and well-implemented world language programs that start earlier and extend from pre-K through 12th grade provide our students with a number of cognitive, social, academic benefits. The research is clear that these programs benefit all students regardless of socioeconomic status, language background, race or ethnicity, or special needs. Parents are very interested in these programs, and we are in a good place to start expanding them. House Bill 5699, which would help to increase teachers of color in our schools, I think is a great opportunity for us to also recruit more teachers of color who are multilingual, who could then take their role as teachers in these multilingual programs. So we strongly support these two bills. I personally had signed up for a few others, but I might just leave it at that. I know it's been a long night. But if I have a minute, I can add a couple others.
Got 1 more minute, please.
Okay. For myself personally, I wanted to also support House Bill 6029 and oppose 5367. 6029, which would appropriate funding for more school social workers, and oppose the bill that would appropriate funding for school resource officers. I think through the pandemic, we've put a kind of microscope on issues that we already knew were there, and we've been really underfunding our neighborhood public schools for such a long time. And students, there are a number of youth-led organizations have been leading the fight for removing police officers from schools, and I would defer to them for more information on that. But I think it's clear that youth do not feel comfortable with police officers in schools, and there's really great need to have more mental health professionals in our schools supporting our children to address issues of trauma and other issues that have only been exacerbated by this pandemic. And the last bill that I'll support is House Bill 5350, but with a suggestion. This one is to provide access to advanced placement courses for all students, but the bill only addresses the 4 core academic areas of English, math, science, and social studies, and I'd urge the sponsors to expand this to all AP courses, so that would include world languages, art, and other areas where multilingual learners and other traditionally marginalized students are more likely to excel and be able to obtain those college credits to put them on a pathway towards college and more high-paying jobs in the future.
Thank you for your testimony, Erin. We appreciate that.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Have a great night yourself. Hello, Wendy. Would you identify your complete name and which bill you're testifying for or against in a couple of minutes, please?
Yes, thank you very much.
You're on.
Chair Abney and members of the Finance Committee, my name is Wendy Becker. I'm the chair of the social work program at Rhode Island College. Prior to teaching, I was a middle school and high school social worker. I'm testifying in support of H6029. As a social work educator, I know social workers help people resolve conflict, improve relationships, regulate emotions, move through trauma, and improve mental health. Our expertise is social and emotional health, exactly what we need in schools. As a school social worker, I know how much our expertise matters. I remember a 7th grader sent to me after a fight and learning he was headed to his 14th foster placement after school. I remember an 11th grader not attending school because his mother was dying. I remember a 10th grader with autism who told me he only came to school to eat lunch with my group. I remember students dealing with substance use problems, homelessness, and violence who needed someone to respond to them. Social workers are those people. We're trained to create positive school cultures and respond to the root causes of disruptive behavior or problematic situations. Schools with more of us have improved attendance, higher graduation rates, less discipline problems, less police involvement. Given the disparate impact of police involvement on students of color and students with disabilities, this is incredibly important. Social workers in schools can change the trajectory of kids' lives. I urge you to invest in us. Thanks so much.
Thank you for your testimony. We appreciate that. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Randy, are you on?
Given the disparate impact of
Hi, Randy.
involvement of color and students.
Hello?
Yeah, your television, I believe, or radio is on because I can hear it in the background. Could you turn that down, please?
My apologies.
That's okay. Brandon. Okay, thank you, Brandon. I'm sorry I mispronounced your name. Okay, you're on for a couple of minutes, sir.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Brandon Felice. I'm a high schooler currently attending the Met in Providence. I represent the PASS Coalition, the Providence Alliance for School Safety, and the Counselors Not Cops campaign. I am speaking in support of this bill today due to the fact that counselors are proven to improve the lives and the safety of our schools. For my testimony today, I want to turn to an ACLU report, Cops and No Counselors. We see that school staff who provide health and mental health services in our schools not only improve the overall health outcomes for these students, but increase school safety systemically. When it comes to the recommended ratio, it's about 250 students to 1 social worker, but in Rhode Island, we have it at 686 to 1, which means that there's not a lot of time for counselors to get personal or even get tactical with their youth. And in Providence, an urban community, we are a little better, but that's at 571 to 1. So again, still not enough to be able to impact the students. The main reason why these resources are important is it's because these resources meet students where they are. Students are 21 times more likely to visit school-based mental health support than anywhere else. And especially since we see there's a need, 1 in 5 youth can develop diagnosable mental health needs, and 1 in 10 need that support to come from school, which again, we currently do not have the capacity for. And we see that, my apologies, I'll speed it up. Schools that employ more school-based mental health providers have improved attendance rates, lower rates of suspension, improved graduation rates, and improved school safety. With this amount of money reallocated to schools, especially when we're talking about urban communities, we'll not only see healthier students, but we'll find healthier communities. I urge you all to support this bill as a student who this would primarily benefit and impact. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Brandon. We really appreciate your testifying with us tonight. Okay? And we're getting Roberto up. Hello, Roberto. You're on the line, please. If you would just state your hello, just please state your full name and which bill you for or against in a couple of minutes, please.
All right. Hello, my name is Roberto Cabrera, and I am calling for HB 5211.
Thank you, Roberto. I still hear a reverb wherever you are. Do you have your television on or radio?
I turned my television off.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, sir. You got it. You got about a minute and a half now.
All right. Hello, my name is Roberto Cabrera. I am an undergrad student in youth development at Rhode Island College, and I am here to advocate for out-of-school time funding. Funding after school and summer programs is important because many young people benefit from them. As a youth, when I was 10 years old, I remember being in the College Crusade of Rhode Island, which I am still connected with. The programs that I was in has helped me to be a better person. It helped me get into college as well. Some of the programs that they had after school involved daily activities with our peers to build communication and engage positive relationships with one another, and to connect us with tutors to help us progress through the classes and not fall behind. The staff of the College Crusade of Rhode Island were not in it for themselves. They did to support people so they did not feel isolated and had a place of belonging where they were being advocated and cared for. My experience is a reflection of the experience of youth in our community. Youth workers in our state work hard every day to engage young people in activities that support their growth, academic opportunities, and quality of life. Every youth worker should get paid for the hard work that they do for our community, which is why I really urge you that we should be funded $2 million for out-of-school time learning, which involves after-school programs, before-school programs, and summer camps. Thank you for listening to my testimony.
Thank you for giving your testimony, young man. Take good care of yourself. Okay. Kate, you're on the line, please.
Thank you. Thanks, Mr. Chair and the members of the committee.
For the past several months, it has been my honor to support with research a proposal by Providence Youth to remove police officers, aka school resource officers or SROs, from Providence Public Schools, and to put in place a robust plan for equitable schools that includes social and behavioral support, anti-racist and restorative justice training, and student involvement in school policy. The version of House Bill 6029 that I read as posted and linked on the House agenda for tonight would go a long way toward funding staff that are an integral part of that proposal. Culturally competent social workers with connections to communities where the schools are based could help connect students and families with services for emotional recovery, skills for dealing with the behavioral after effects of trauma, and material support so that traumas associated with insufficient resources and lack of possibilities are not renewed. Those students and the social workers who support them will be fighting an uphill battle, however, if House Bill 5367 pays for police to remain in schools, or if a version of 6029 that funds police officers is allowed to go through. Police officers in schools remind students that a shouting match or a kicked chair could be escalated by an officer into an arrest or a beating. Many Rhode Island students, especially black students and students of color, have also been hurt or threatened or seen family hurt or threatened by police outside of school, making their very presence distracting and frightening. It's very difficult to learn or grow when you are angry, afraid, and faced with the possibility of aggression rather than informed support. Rhode Island students know this firsthand. That is why they are calling for counselors, not cops, and why I am supporting them. A bright future does not require a bright present, but a bright present helps. Many of the students whose schools contain SROs will go on to live satisfying and admirable lives in spite of their learning conditions. But why does it have to be in spite of? Why not just make the learning conditions good? Imagine what Rhode Island youth could accomplish then. I'm looking at the bill again, at Bill 6029, as it was linked in your agenda, which you published, and that's what it provides for. I'm not in support of any version of any bill that funds SROs. And I urge the sponsors to withdraw this version of 6029 and revise it in light of the testimony tonight. The ACLU, in a national report published in 2019, I'm almost done, also found no conclusive evidence that police in schools make students or staff safer. The subtitle of that report is How the Lack of School Mental Health Support is Harming Students. This echoes what the youth of Providence have been saying for several years and have been feeling of the effects of for many more. I urge you to reject 5367 and revise 6029 in light of the testimony you hear tonight. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for your time and your testimony. We really appreciate that. Okay? Just a time check for everybody. We're still going to end at 2300 hours, which is 11 o'clock civilian time. So it's highly unlikely that we're going to get beyond another 7 or 8 calls or so. So if you're waiting for the last bill, remember we're going to continue what we're doing, not this Wednesday, but the next Wednesday. Just a heads up, okay? Nicholas. Hello, Nicholas. You're on the line, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Commissioner. My name is Nicholas Streltsov. I'm a medical student at Brown University, here to speak in strong support of the original wording of H6029, which I recently learned is actually the typo version of the bill. In particular, I'd like to speak about the way this bill would improve student and community health. Data show that school staff who provide health and mental health services to children not only improve the health outcomes for those students, but also improve school safety. However, there's really no evidence that's ever been demonstrated that police in the schools improve school safety. In fact, we've actually seen the opposite, and in many cases, they're actually causing harm. So, for example, a 2019 study found that youth stopped by the police at school have significantly elevated risk for emotional distress, social stigma, and post-traumatic stress. Numerous studies have replicated the same findings, showing a clear relationship between anxiety disorder, PTSD, and contact with the police, especially at schools. The downstream health impacts and toxic stress during adolescence and early development should not be overlooked, and multiple studies have shown that the impact of this is particularly profound for Black youth and students of color. The health and mental health benefits, on the other hand, of professionals like social workers in schools are well documented. Although there is no evidence that police in schools improve school safety, there's a direct linear relationship between the number of students per school counselor or social worker and disciplinary incidents. In other words, increasing the number of social workers in schools can directly improve student safety, school climate, and emotional well-being. Locally, a study from 2020 found that 70% of students in Rhode Island do not receive any treatment for their mental health conditions, and that 80% of students who are receiving treatment do so through their school. At the same time, 20% of youth in Rhode Island are in schools with police but no professionals who can address their mental health concerns. To conclude, from a public health perspective, I think the original typo version of the bill accomplished something very elegant by removing a harm and introducing something that would improve outcomes for our students. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your time, sir. Keep up the good study and the good work. Okay? We'll have Andrew next up on the line. Hi, Andrew. How you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
Good. Not too bad. You got a couple of minutes, young man.
All right. I'll try my best.
Okay. That's all we can ask.
My name is Andrew Poyant. I am a resident of Providence. I'm a father of 3 young children, and I was also a member of the Community Design Team World Class Talent subgroup in order to help come up with the Providence Public Schools turnaround plan. I'm calling in support of bills 5699 that supports more teachers of color, bill 5350 for advanced placement, 5239 world language and dual language, 5193 the moratorium on charter schools, 6029 social workers funding, and I'm calling in opposition to funding more school resource officers. I'm going to try to sum this up as much as I can in 2 minutes. One second. As a member of the community design team, we analyzed a lot of data on Providence Public Schools and found that the Leventon Dual Language School, Providence's first dual language elementary school, had math scores near the top of all the elementary schools for both native English student and native English speaking students and English language learners. In English, native English speaking students scored near the top of all the elementary schools, and English language learners scored better than any other elementary school in Providence. This data reflects national studies that show that dual language programs treat knowing a second language as an asset that they continue to improve upon rather than a problem that is to be dealt with for the student. It is great to see that PPSD is expanding to have a dual language Spanish middle school. I would like to see a concerted effort by the state to expand dual language programs from pre-K all the way to grade 12 within our public school system to meet the demands and need for students throughout the state and in as many languages that there is a need for. In the Teachers of Color bill, so much of this is what we worked on in the World Class Talent group. There's a huge need for more teachers of color. There are so many studies that show the benefits of this. In Providence in particular, 91% of the students are students of color, and only and while 80% of the teachers are and only 20% of the teachers are teachers of color. The goal, which I think...
You can start to wrap it up, Andrew. I'd appreciate that.
Okay. So I support that, and I mean, there are a lot of bills here that help build upon what we need to do for Providence Public Schools, and so I hope that the committee moves them forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Andrew. Keep up the good work, sir. Okay, we've got Gregory coming up. Hello, Gregory.
Hello.
Good, how are you? You have 2 bills you are testifying on tonight, sir?
Yes, that is correct. Thank you so much, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. If you would take a couple of minutes, we'd appreciate it.
Thank you. I want to start out by saying how much I really do appreciate absolutely everybody from every single community that came out tonight to the Finance Committee in the House, the People's House to the Finance Committee. And thanks go to all of you sitting on the committee, virtually or otherwise. It's been an incredible night of testimony. It's not letting up. Thank you so much for helping democracy work. I'm here tonight to speak on a couple of bills. The first is 5367. This is the Student Resource Officer Tax Credit Bill. I am in opposition to this for a variety of reasons. We should be making it harder, not easier, for the school-to-prison pipeline to work. By placing police officers in any educational situation, you're encouraging an us versus them environment. I'm sorry, I'm not going to get emotional on the phone, but I think if everybody who looks into their hearts thinks about this for a moment, you'll understand what this can be for Rhode Island. Let's divest law enforcement from opportunities to oppress people of any walks of life. Let's get social workers in there. Let's get more teachers in there. Let's train people who can have some empathy in there. Let's make sure that we're incentivizing that with our tax money. Moving on to the bill that I'm in support of tonight, 5193, is the limitation of the state to invest more money into out-of-state corporations that call themselves charter schools, robbing our public school children and their families of a proper and equitable quality education. We have buildings with teachers in them. Let's fund those. We don't need to be busing students around. The last thing that any family needs when they're just trying to keep their head above water, get back into work, keep a roof over their head, is to worry about another lottery. La loteria is not the way that the school is supposed to be made. It is not riesgo. It is supposed to be a right to be educated. We are already, all of us, victims of a natural and social lottery. Depending on where we're born, it's hard. Depending on to whom we're born, it's hard. Don't make it harder. We need every single family to have access to public education, public school education. A public school education needs to be funded by the public. And charter schools aren't that. Thank you so much for your time tonight and hearing my testimony. I wish I had more time to share personal stories, but I'm sure you're getting all of those from so many other people tonight. Thank you all so much for your time.
But thank you for the time to share your stories. It's appreciated. It means a lot to us. Okay.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Anna, you're on the line, please.
Hello, thank you.
Hi, how you doing? You have a couple of minutes, please.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you all being up so late. My name is Anna Bonesteel. I am a resident of Pawtucket, and I am testifying against House Bill 5367, and I was testifying for House Bill 6029 until the clarification at the beginning of the meeting. I was under the impression that that bill would remove student resource officers from schools, but this was apparently a typo. I really support additional funding for social workers, but no longer wish to support that bill. I suggest that the committee revokes that bill as people are very powerfully and eloquently responding to it as it was written. Over the past few months, I've worked with youth leaders in Providence and other community groups to re-envision student safety from the perspective of those that the policies would actually impact, the students. Bill 5367, by indefinitely extending financial support for student resource officer hires in the schools, reifies a system in which a middle schooler could be handcuffed in front of their friends and arrested for a playground fight or an errant hand gesture. It reinforces a system in which students are not simply respected as learners, but are seen as potential informants for making arrests in their communities and families. In this system, 70% of Providence Public School District students have witnessed or have heard about a peer being arrested while at school. As a previous speaker noted, 1 out of 5 students in Rhode Island have a mental health condition. Do you think that that kind of experience, seeing a fellow student arrested, would increase or decrease student mental health conditions? In a country in which gun violence, very sadly, is never far from our minds, I can understand the impulse to station police in schools under the presumption that police protect students. However, multiple literature reviews over the last decade, including a full-scale report from the Congressional Research Service, have found that this is highly contestable, if not simply untrue. Research across multiple districts indicates that SROs do not decrease the amount of school shootings or other school-based violence. In fact, the most tangible result of SRO deployment is a decrease in an inclusive school climate. Over half of PTSD students said that SROs do not make them feel safer. There are also, of course, race-based repercussions. A study found that black and brown students, which make up 42%, I believe, of Rhode Island public... Sorry.
That's okay. 30 seconds.
So in addition to the original typo version of Bill 6029, I would urge legislators to concretely address the need for culturally competent social workers in schools, multilingual care as well. Thank you.
Thank you for your advocacy. Thanks very much. Okay. Enrique. Hi, Enrique.
Hey, how you doing, sir?
Oh, not too bad. You're on. I think you have 2 bills you're testifying on. You've got a couple of minutes, sir. Please.
I actually have 4, but thank you. I'll put them all in 2 minutes, okay? Thank you so much to the members of this committee. Thank you so much to the members of this committee. I appreciate the time and the effort to hear everyone out. My name is Enrique Sanchez. I am a substitute teacher in the Providence public school system. I am also involved and I represent the BLM RI PAC and Providence DSA and a couple other political organizations that I'm involved with. I am here today in support of House Bill 5239, which supports the dual language education at an early age. I believe that this is a very important bill that will provide support for educators and students in the public school system. I am also here in support of House Bill 5690, the one that supports the teachers of color with increasing multilingual teachers. I think this bill will provide a clear path to hire more teachers of color in the Providence public school system. I know some folks out there emphasize that there are not a lot of teachers of color in the school system, but I do think little by little we're making progress after years of institutional racism. Myself being a person of color, Mexican American, Latino, Latinx, I joined the Providence school teachers workforce as a substitute teacher, but I've been able to see there is some progress being made to hire teachers of color. I am also here opposing House Bill 5367, the SRO officers in the schools. Students don't need to have police officers at their schools, especially where schools are consisted of mostly black and brown students. These police officers add trauma to the schools. I've seen it at 3 schools, Alvarez, Mount Pleasant, and JSEC. These officers do not take the time to connect or talk to students. We need more teachers of color as educators being recruited, no more SRO officers. I am also here supporting House Bill 5193, the charter school moratorium. I think that we have a lot of work to do inside the public school system. I think charter schools control students. Charter schools are a way of privatization of education. We have a lot of work to do within our public school system, but I do have faith that we can reform them. We can hire more teachers of color. We can, work with white teachers, black teachers, white teachers, and make things easier for us. We don't need to privatize education here in the States, because we don't need wealthy people making money off our students. And charter schools, that's what they're here for. They may be public charter schools, but at the end of the day, there are certain people out there that are trying to privatize education here in the States.
Thanks for your testimony.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, we're down to probably our last 3 callers prior to the 2,300 hours that we're going to slow up. Okay, so who we have? Becky? Hello, Becky. Becky, are you there? All right. Can you put your volume down, Becky?
Oh, you'd like me to put my volume down?
Oh, well, we couldn't hear you at all. I can hear you now.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can now.
I am speaking. Yes.
Okay, great. Just give us the bill that you're speaking on. You have a couple of minutes, please.
Okay, I'm speaking on Bill 6029.
Becca, we're losing you again. There's a volume issue.
Okay. I think I fixed it. Is that better?
That's much better, yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So, I would like to offer my testimony in support of House Bill 6029 and in opposition of House Bill, I don't want to mess up the number, 5367, I believe. If I got that right. Yes, 5367. So, my background is in public policy research into the prevention of youth involvement in the justice system. I also work at the Nonviolence Institute, where I help collaborate. I help facilitate multi-agency collaboration in efforts to prevent youth violence and to promote support for youth and families in Rhode Island cities. And I would just like to share a brief story of one of the many that I've heard that really exemplifies what we see across the board, across data, of the pivotal impact that a social worker can have on a young person's life trajectory. So a colleague of mine did not have the opportunity to have a school social worker in his school, and instead he was arrested at school for selling weed at the age of 14. And so his issues had really been, the source of his issues were really anxiety, depression, tensions in his home life. He was hoping at the time, being a 14-year-old, to buy a pair of sneakers so he could fit in with other kids at his middle school. But this arrest record and court involvement only increased tensions in his home life, pushed him away from his family into group homes. And he, became embroiled in neighborhood dynamics that amounted to years of incarceration. And he said to me today, if somebody had just tried to understand why I was doing what I was doing, instead of trying to judge me for it, punish me for it, or abandon me for it, I think it could have made a difference. And so this is exactly where school social workers can be so pivotal early on in a young person's life.
30 seconds,
helping
please.
Connect them, thank you, yes, to the necessary resources to address challenges in the home life that really only a social worker is trained to address, helping to provide counseling through anxiety and depression, access to employment resources so a young person would never have to turn towards something such as selling. And this is so desperately needed in Rhode Island, where we have an average of 686 students for every social worker. So I urge you to pass H2069 as an investment in more healthy and safe communities and a brighter future for all our students in Rhode Island, and one more step towards racial equity. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Okay, Jim Parisi, you're on, sir.
Thank you, Chairman and committee members, and thank you all for hanging in there this evening, listening to our testimony. The Rhode Island Federation of Teachers and Health Professionals supports 5668, the bill by Rep. Falella that would change the pension eligibility rules. Currently, the normal retirement age is age 67, the normal Social Security retirement age. We have a rule of 95 where you can get out a little early if your years of service plus age equals 95. And this bill would essentially create a rule of 90 where as long as you're 60 years old and have 30 years of service, you could retire. We do believe that the 2011 pension changes spearheaded by then Treasurer Raimondo were too draconian, particularly for active state workers who already pay for almost their entire benefit through their own contributions. Pension eligibility in the private sector, where 401ks are the standard retirement vehicle these days, you can start drawing on them at age 59 and a half. So why not something similar for public employees? We think there'd be savings to employers who want to hire new staff instead of top step folks. And finally, the opportunity may not be widely used because a lot of my members are going to hang around anyhow after age 60 because of the needs of having health insurance until they're Medicare eligible. So we look forward to a pension note and a fiscal note, but we hope that this is a serious consideration this year. Secondly, we support 5208 by Representative Serpa. This reinstates a state funding stream for teacher professional development, something we haven't had in over a decade. It's modeled on what Massachusetts did 2 decades ago, which is dedicating real money, $200 per student, for teacher professional development and maintain it over time. The Assembly enacted a lot of major changes in curriculum legislation in 2019. Revising work is being done right now, but if you want to impact classroom learning, you need to invest in teacher training, teacher professional development. Similarly, if you want to enhance certification or endorsements of multi-language learner teachers or deal with the dyslexia issue, you need to invest in professional development for teachers. And again, there hasn't been a state budget line item on that for over a decade, and we need to get back to that point. Finally, I know you heard from the all-star team of charter supporters. I just want to note on Representative O'Brien's bill that the whole process is really dishonest. They're talking about and focusing your attention on what is to open without paying any attention to what Providence public school students are going to lose. By estimates, $80 million is going to have to be cut from Providence School Department budgets, and no one's honest enough to tell parents what schools are closing, what programs are going to be cut when that is brought to fruition. So I just wanted to make that note. And again, Chair, thanks for your time, and we appreciate the opportunity to speak.
Thanks for your time, Jim. We appreciate that, too. Okay. We've got Allison on the line, getting her. Hi, Allison. You're on the line. You're next to our last one, I think, for the night.
Thank you. Okay.
Good. Got a couple of minutes, please.
Okay. Hi, my name is Allison Charles. I live in Providence, Rhode Island. I work as a clinical, sorry, I can't tell if I'm on or not. Am I?
You are on.
I am. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. I work as a clinical therapist at Lifespan, and I work primarily with adolescents who live in Providence. So I'm speaking on behalf of the clients I work with and as a mental health provider today. And I believe we need to support House Bill 6029 and shift funding from SROs to school social workers. And there's a few reasons why I think this is important. For one, SROs are not properly trained and not qualified to work with our children and teens. They're not familiar with positive youth development theory and social emotional learning and its importance. And most officers get roughly 4 to 6 hours of training on interfacing with young people in their academies, and that is not enough. Officers are not trained in de-escalation or transformative justice techniques that we need to be teaching in schools and we need our students to learn. Mental health counselors and social workers, on the other hand, are trained professionals who are qualified to be working in these locations and these environments with teens and children. Second, as we all know, police presence can often mean a decrease in safety for many POC students. So we need to listen to the calls of the Providence Student Union and listen to the African American Advisory Group when they are telling us that the presence of police officers in schools actually makes students feel less safe. And I'm here to say we need trauma-informed practices. We need to know that students are going to become triggered by the sight of a police officer if they have had traumatic experiences with police brutality or witnessing police violence in their communities. And when a student is triggered in trauma, we know that certain parts of the brain shut off and they can no longer learn appropriately. And finally, SROs are part of maintaining the school-to-prison pipeline that we've come to think about and reevaluate. They're criminalizing students at a young age instead of helping students get the services and supports they need. We need to break the cycle and the intergenerational trauma that is caused by providing counselors to these students, not police. Also, we know that the school-to-prison pipeline and the presence of SROs has a disproportionate effect on students, particularly on Black students.
We know that Black students make up only 16% of the overall population of Providence public school enrollment, and yet they make up 30% of all student arrests in schools by SROs. We need to realize that this is not okay, and this is an injustice that we can't allow to continue happen in these locations that should be a safe haven for our students, a safe haven of learning, a safe haven of growth. It's not a place for a police officer. We need more school social workers, and we need to remove all SROs from our schools.
30 seconds, please. Oh, go ahead, right on the money. Okay, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. All right.
Have a great night.
Have a great night yourself. Oh, okay. David?
Yes.
Good. I think you're our last caller for the evening. How are you doing, David?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Okay,
and thank you for taking the time.
Oh, that's okay. I think you have 2 bills you're testifying on.
Yes.
Okay, you got a couple of minutes, please.
All right. Thank you. Good evening. Thank you for the late night. My name is David Valise. I'm the director for the Rhode Island Interfaith Coalition to Reduce Poverty. I'm speaking tonight to support House Bill 5239 and House Bill 5699, creating a dual language program in Rhode Island and expanding diversity in teachers. Right now, we do not have adequate programs that support the ever-expanding multilingual community. We need this bill and petition at RIDE not only for students to have the benefit of learning another language, but to support countless students who are English learners. Why does the Interfaith Coalition to Reduce Poverty care about this? Because educational achievement is directly linked to poverty, and failure in the educational system is a cycle that perpetuates generational poverty. Data shows many multilingual learners are being left behind in communities in Rhode Island, communities that I work and live in. And the data shows also that dual language helps students academically, socially, and connects them to an expanding world. My hope is also that this position will lead to dual programs where students learn in their native language and in English simultaneously, so that their proficiency in other subjects isn't hurt by their proficiency in English, because math is math. Lastly, for 5699, we need more teachers of color, not only for the academic benefits, but multi-language that I've already mentioned, but because diversity in teachers brings social and mental benefits. The data shows that students have better outcomes when they have diversity in teachers. I myself remember what it was like to have teachers that looked like me and shared my life experience, that were culturally competent and were invested in seeing my community succeed. We need more diversity in our educational systems and more opportunities for students to be successful. Thank you for your time. I know it's been a long night. Have a blessed night, and I hope you support this bill.
Thank you for your time. I just want to take 1 second or so to thank the staff, the technical staff, the fiscal staff, and certainly my teammates tonight for going through a long general session and then working through the session that we had tonight, those who are here with us and those who were with us through remote. I'm proud of you. You did an unbelievable, tremendously good job. We still have a lot to go. I want to thank all of you who called in and gave us your perspectives. All of that helps us. We've still got, a lot to go, but it made a long night worth it, and I think we all learned something from what was going on. So if there's no further questions, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's Wednesday. What's the date? It's not this Wednesday, but the 31st? Okay, the 31st is when we will continue. Every bill that I did not close for discussion, we will just continue those because there's still a few left. So out of an abundance of caution, I'll leave open the bills that I did not close. If no further question behind that, then that should end the business. I'm sorry. Then that should end the business of the Finance Committee tonight. Thank you all so very much.